Yeah, and I wanted to sort of hit on that a little bit because you mentioned before about the massive change in the technology, like a massive improvement in technology over the last, say, 10, 15 years. Why? What's the adopting of like electric vehicles, the that sort of thing? Why has that happened? And why has it
Well,
happened faster than anywhere else, or what appears to be faster than anywhere else?
oh, it is faster than anywhere else in terms of the scale. I think Norway was first in terms of the like percentage of new vehicles, but it's a very small market. So as far as the world's largest car market goes, that is China. And as of today, more than 50% of new vehicles sold are so-called new energy vehicles. So these are
Mm-hmm.
vehicles that are primarily driven by electricity. So why is that? And so this kind of goes to understanding how a little bit of how China works internally. So from the West, we get a narrative that, oh, they're communists, they're bad people, they subsidize
Mm-hmm.
everything, we can't compete, that's that and the other. But that's not really what happens on the inside. There is central government planning of the economy. The government selects certain core areas and they decide that they want China to be a dominant player in those markets. For example, solar panels,
Mm-hmm.
lithium ion battery production, electric vehicles, wind turbines, green energy, right? All of those markets are markets that the party has decided, and they set out 5-year plans to establish world dominance in those markets. It's not a secret. The plan is public. I mean, anyone who could read
Mm.
Chinese can read this plan, and a lot of people do read it.
I've been talking about it for years.
Yeah. Well, while we were talking about it, something was happening in China.
Yeah.
And that's the story, right? While we were talking about this and fighting internally and having mask wars or whatever it is we were doing, um, the Chinese government started out by seeding in any given major industry probably over 1,000 companies in each
Wow.
industry. And then those companies, which did receive money from the government to get started
Mm-hmm.
predominantly, and they may have had some special aptitude for the specific technology. They might have had an innovation in
Mm-hmm.
that field. Perhaps it was founded by a professor or an academic or a famous entrepreneur in China. Or maybe they were just very good at drinking baijiu with the local party officials. I mean, nobody really knows from the outside how it all happens. But the end result is that these 1,000 companies begin to get products on the market and then they start competing with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
so there is this war of attrition. It's just this brutal knife fight of just relentless internal competition. So there's this idea of China speed. Everything's happening at incredible speed. New factories are being built, and those are the most efficient factories, so they get all their capacities utilized, while the older, less efficient factories have less and less market share, and finally they just disappear, right? So that process of like continually upgrading and updating and renewing the technologies leads to this very, very fast adoption of new innovations, right?
Mm.
It is very tight margins, so people are really hurting for profit, right? They suffer.
Mm.
And there is a lot of attrition. So out of those 1,000 companies, probably 990 will die.
Right.
But what happens is the 10 that survive are the 10 who can create a product which is marketable in overseas markets so they can get higher
Mm-hmm.
margins by selling overseas. And they can do that at very large scale, right? And so the few companies who survive this brutal process are truly world-class companies. And these are the companies that are then exporting Chinese production, Chinese technologies
Wow.
to the entire world. And that's what changes the world. That part is what concerns people in the West. The fact that a lot of Chinese startups have tremendous attrition it doesn't matter at all to us because that doesn't impact our world. But when these huge companies that are well established in their domestic market now start exporting vast amounts of world-class goods, all of a sudden alarm bells start ringing. And so that's the moment we're at today.